Well, I want to welcome everybody, and man, I'm so glad that you're with us at House Church, and just it's so exciting to hear about all the different ways that God's using House Church to form community and to build your faith, and that's what it's all about. So thank you for being leaned in, and today we're still continuing in our series called The Wonder Switch. And I just want to ask you a question really to kind of get the conversation going is, man, when was the last time that you stood in awe of something where something so big or so powerful just like captured your imagination? You know, like maybe it was Hurricane Katrina when it rolled through. I mean, we stood in awe of Katrina. You know what I mean? Where it was just like so big and so powerful that it got our attention. Maybe like, you know, when your little girl goes to Disney World for the first time and she sees Cinderella in the castle, man, it's just like this magical deal where she's standing in awe. And if I can just be really transparent with everyone, like through this series, I started asking myself this one question. You know, Timmy, when's the last time that I stood in awe of God? Where I saw how big and beautiful and glorious God was, that it literally like took my breath away. And today our goal is to try to wake up the wonder, because when we lose our wonder of God, we lose our worship of God. And that's big. And so we want to wake up the wonder by discovering that God is worthy, that God alone is worthy. And the passage we're going to look at is in Psalm 96, an amazing psalm. In the context of it, it was a worship psalm, but the context of it was when David in 1 Chronicles 16, you can go back and read the whole story, which I recommend. But when David brought the Ark of the Covenant, the presence of God, into Jerusalem, it had been out of Jerusalem for roughly 75 years. And so David leads the charge and he gets the Ark of the Covenant into Jerusalem. And guess what happens? Literally all of Jerusalem just like erupts in this worship and singing and dancing. It turned into this massive party. Why? Because the presence of God should always lead to the worship of God. Always. And that's exactly what took place. And so we're going to read just a couple of passages here at Psalm 96. And the first thing that I want us to read is the first few verses where it says, "Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. Sing to the Lord and praise his name and proclaim his salvation day after day. And declare his glory among the nations and his marvelous deeds among all people." And so it's very clear that God is worthy of what? He's worthy of our worship. And I don't know if you've ever really thought through what worship is. I mean, we talk about it all the time in church, but worship isn't necessarily spiritual because, I mean, if we're just being real, right? We worship things that aren't God. Because worship at its core is just a response. But biblical worship is a response to who God is and what God has done. And so you and I, like if you've put your faith in Jesus, then our worship should be extravagant because we have received extravagant grace. And so worship is a response to who God is and what God has done. And then if God is worthy of our worship, then don't miss this. God is worthy of destroying our idols. And we see that right here in the next verse or two in Psalm 96, where it says, "For great is the Lord, and he alone is most worthy of praise, and he is to be feared above all other little g gods, and for all the gods of the nations are idols." And so I want us to look at idols kind of through a different lens, maybe by the lens of our Enneagram number. If you missed that series, please go back and watch it. And maybe tonight at House Church, you can talk about your Enneagram numbers. But we're all bent to different things. And so if you're a 1 on the Enneagram, you're the perfectionist. And the idol that you're going to struggle with is literally like control, where you got to have all the details together. You start to control every situation and every person. Don't be bumping anybody next to you, but it's the idol of control. And for 2s on the Enneagrams, you're the helper. It's this idol of codependency, where you find your identity in being everything to everybody. The 3s on the Enneagram, they're the achievers. And it's this idol of being successful, and especially the appearance of being successful. The 4s are the individualist. The idol's a little bit different, but it's just this unattainable contentment, meaning like you have to figure out how to be unique in every little area and facet of your life. For 5s, You're the investigators. It's the idol of having massive control of your time and your calendar because you're trying to ration out your energies. And 6 on the Enneagram, you're the loyalist. It's the idol of being secure, where you don't want anything to go against your security because when it does, stress and anxiety rises. 7s, which is me, it's the enthusiast. And so our idol, my idol, is just the desire for more, where we never, it's like more fun, more experiences, more whatever. And we can't enjoy the moment because we're always looking to the future. And the 8s on the Enneagram, you're the challengers. And it's this idol of strength. It's this idol where you always got to have it together. You always got to be able to push and plow your agenda through. It's the idol of strength. And 9 on the Enneagram, it's the idol. The 9 on the Enneagram, you're the peacemaker. And the idol is comfort. And so whatever it is that we're kind of bent towards, we have to see that if God is worthy of our worship, then he's worthy of destroying these idols in our life, which would be a great conversation to have. And yes, there are idols that we could identify, the top 5 idols of America, which is like money and sex and success and careers and perception, those type things. But really think through your Enneagram number and how we have different idols because of that. And the last thing is this, is that God is worthy of our worship. He's worthy of destroying our idols. And God alone is worthy. Why? Because he is a global God. That God is a global God. And we see this in this psalm. Starting in verse 9, it says, "Worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness. Tremble before him, all the earth. Say among the nations." It doesn't say among, South Mississippi, or say among America, or say among the Bible Belt. No, it says say among the nations, the Lord reigns. And so we have to see that our God is a global God. And my fear for us is this, because of everything that's kind of taken place over the past year. It has been a wild ride. And our fear, if we don't get an elevated perspective, like a bigger perspective to see who God is, my fear is this, is that man, we don't think God's number one agenda is America. And we have to see that God's a global God. I'm not trying to ruffle feathers. I'm trying to help you, to give you a big global perspective of God. Because do you know where all of human history is kind of heading to? Like the convergent point for all of human history? It's all pointing to this one moment where we get to see the global worship of God around the throne, where there's going to be people from every single tongue, every single tribe, language, and people group on the planet that's worshiping God. And that's what all of this is going to. And so when we see that God is a global God, it changes everything. So God is worthy of your worship. He's worthy of destroying idols. He's worthy because he alone is a global God. And so help us to see that he's worthy of your time. He's worthy of your energy. He's worthy of your affection. He's worthy of your worship. He's worthy of your resources. He's worthy of loving your wife well and loving your husband well and raising your kids in a church. He's worthy of your time. He's worthy of your energies. Like God alone is worthy. And when we see that, our natural response is to worship. And so thank you so much for joining us, and your house church pastor is going to take over from here.